Let's take a look at the object anchor in AutoCAD Architecture. Now, the object anchor is one of several anchors that you can work with on your AEC objects. If we go to the Stock Tools catalog in the Content Library and go down to Parametric, Layout, and Anchoring Tools, you'll see the whole group. So the one I'll focus on in this demonstration is the object anchor. You can also type in anchor and you'll see all of those on your command line. Now for the first demonstration, I'll do a residential scenario that occurs a lot in my own personal work, and that is that I've got an electrical plan, such as the one here I'm pulling up. And I'll do an unload of the Xrefs. So you'll see in my electrical construct, the only thing that really resides in there are the electrical symbols. Sometimes the line work for switches, and that's about it. I'll bring that back. Okay, so I'm sure you've encountered situations where you're working with your walls or your doors or your windows, and they have a ripple effect on other objects in your drawings, your constructs, and you'd like to sync them up somehow automatically. Now, the most perfect tool in the world doesn't really exist. You would probably want to be able to use something from the parametric tools up here, but we don't really have something as sophisticated as that in the AEC world. Now, you could tinker with these to get some effect, but they're tricky on AEC objects, not quite the same way as regular AutoCAD objects. So we'll take a look at just the anchor tool. Now the scenario that I'm going to establish here is this wall, this vertical wall on my screen, and the electrical symbols that would be affected by any movement of that wall. So just to demonstrate here, if I call that project up, I go down here and I grab that wall, and I use the grip here to move it over 6 inches, and then save that work. If I come back, and reload that, you'll notice none of that stuff went with it. So that's the type of scenario we're looking at here. I'm going to go back to the file, I'm going to undo. Okay, and I'm going to resave that work. Come back and reestablish everything. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in anchor, type in O for object, or I can select it down there. And these, notice it's plural. So I can get all of the symbols, all of these outlets along this wall, hit enter, and then even though the base file here is an Xref, I can select the wall through the Xref, and I just did that. I'll do it again, O for object. Now I'm going to come over here and select a switch that I want to keep in relationship to the door. So not a wall, but a door. So select the switch, enter, and select the door. All right, now how do I know any of that stuff works? Well, we can test it, or you can select the object now and you will see a dashed ghost kind of line that shows the anchoring. It shows what the position of the anchor itself. For example, here on the door. Now there's only one anchor that you're going to find, and you probably won't know which side it is until you actually do it. So a wall will have one side, I believe it's the start side. A door and a window, even a DWA will have one side will be an anchor point. So whenever you do these anchorings, they're all going to jump to that one original anchor on the source object. So you can see they all are going up to that. All right, so I don't need to save that because the anchoring work has been set through the Xref. It's all ready to go. So I'll go back now. And let's do some modifications. Now, if this was a real project, this is how I would do it. I would type in S for stretch. I'd do a CP, and then I would carefully sort of run over here and go, well, I'm going to stretch through here, and then come up here, and then over like that. Just so I'm making sure I don't get anything I don't want in my stretch. And I'm my ortho locked, and then I might type in the distance, say 6 inches, and everything's going to slide over. On the door, just to demonstrate, I might slide that over 8 inches, and I'll go ahead and save. And the little flash you're seeing is the space objects that are in this file from a previous demonstration. Now I'll go back to the electrical. And as soon as I do this, you'll see what gets updated. So pay attention to the switch and these 3 outlets, or 4. Boom, they're all automatically adjusted. So that's pretty handy. It does require the extra time to go ahead and establish the anchors, but I think it'll be worth the trouble if you are doing a lot of changes and you want to keep things connected. I'll pull up a commercial project up here and just give you another example of where something like this might be useful. If you were to do an electrical layout for a commercial project, there's a couple of things you're probably going to run into a lot, which would be, I'm going to the content catalog here for our electrical content. Under the commercial 3D, if I page over, we have the ceiling mounted exit sign in 3D ready to render, and also a wall mounted over the door. So I'll go ahead and insert that. I'm going to type in M2P to place it. So a midpoint between 2 points here and here. So that locates it right over the door. And then, of course, you would probably want some kind of a switch. So we'll go back here. Now these are surface-based commercial switches. Probably not the appropriate ones for this. They can use the same as residential. So I'll go to the residential ones. Let's see here. We'll take this switch. Let's use a double. We'll get a double switch. All right, and then we'll just come here and we'll place that, say, 4 inches over. All right. So the same thing here is I would just anchor. Now I can type in object, object, anchor, and jump straight to the command. So you could set up a button for that if you do this a lot. And then I'm just going to grab these 2, enter, and select the door. And then that work has been taken care of. So now I can go ahead and just slide this over. And all of that sticks together as it was originally configured. Unfortunately, you may have jumped already thinking ahead here, going, wow, if that means I can anchor things to other things, maybe I can anchor a door to another wall. So for example, if I bring this back, wouldn't it be nice if you set this up so that whenever this wall was moved, these 2 doors would move with it, because most likely that's always going to be the scenario. However, doors are already anchored to an object, and if you try to object anchor something that's been anchored to an object to another object, it doesn't work out so well. And I will demonstrate. Anchor, object. If I select the door, enter, and I say this wall, enter, it just gets really messed up. It loses the cutting because it's no longer seeing itself as cutting into that wall. And it's sitting horizontally, so it's not placed correctly to be anchored into the other wall. It messes it all up. If you pick it, you will see that it does understand that it wants to be anchored to that wall, but it's not really working out the way we would hope it would work out. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to undo out of this. You can reverse the concept, though. You can say anchor, object, and you can anchor the wall, enter, to the door. That doesn't have any problems, right? So because there's no inherent object anchoring on the wall itself. It's the reverse, where the door has already been anchored into a wall. So, but now if I move that wall over, move the door over, the wall follows with it. Maybe that's something you can use. I don't know, but it's unfortunate that you can't do it the other way around. Now the final thing here is anchoring isn't necessarily just using electrical symbols. So if I go to our furniture, and let's see, I go to fabrics. Let's go over here and find some kind of a big rug. All right, I'll lay it out here so I don't snap to things. I can take that, and then I could take, for example, I'll go back to, let's see here, chairs. And I bring in, let's bring in this Corb chair. All right, and let's say I place it here. And I'll do another one here. Right, now I do object, anchor. I'll select the 2 chairs, which are MB blocks, enter. And then I select the rug, which is an MB block. And if I pick on it, you see how it finds the insertion point of the multi-view block, uses that as the anchor. So if I now move this fabric around this rug, it will move the other things along with it. And I can also come in here, and because these anchors are not strict parametric constraints, they're just anchors. You can adjust the object, you can move it, you can rotate it. So let's see here, rotate, come down like that, and it'll still remain anchored. Move this around, all right. If you want to unanchor, you don't have to do it on the command line. Just pick the object, and you'll see the dashed line representing the anchor and where it's anchoring to, and there's a little grip in the middle, and that'll disconnect it and remove the anchor. Hopefully this information is useful, and I'm out.